Good afternoon, everyone. We're here for our annual, when I say we, the Waterbury Veterans Memorial Committee's annual presentation of the recognition of the date, December 7, 1941, otherwise known as Pearl Harbor Day. Traditionally, we start this program at 12:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That coincides with our knowledge of the first attack on Pearl Harbor in Hawaii at 5 minutes to 8 o'clock in the morning. I know there's some commentary in here about 8:10, etc. I don't allude to that because I can't verify that. But given that, the first person I'd like to introduce at this time to welcome everyone here and all those that are not here, on behalf of the Waterbury Veterans Memorial Committee, please welcome Chairman Sam Beeman, Vietnam veteran. Sam.
Thank you so much, John. All I can say is wow. Out of all of the ceremonies that we've had down here on Freight Street and at the Elks Club, this is undoubtedly the largest turnout that we have ever had. And it's all because of you, of remembering all those individuals on December 7th, 1941, those individuals that gave their lives for the way of life that we have today. And it's something that we should never forget. We're talking about 75. You know, it's kind of strange because that's what we're going to be doing for the next 5 years. It's all started today. And we're going to take it all the way up for another 5 years before we start talking about 100 years. But we never forget. Those individuals that lost their lives, the families, the Gold Star families, the thoughts are never out of their mind. They live with it every single day. And it's not just World War II, World War I, Korea, Vietnam, and all the rest of them. The war on terror, we live with it every single day. Because these individuals, they gave the ultimate sacrifice. And a lot of people don't understand. A civilian does not understand what the ultimate sacrifice means. They sit back and says that a parent should never have to bury their child. And we honestly believe that. But life isn't that way, and life isn't fair. Those individuals, they were in the land of paradise in Hawaii. Somebody had to be at that duty station, and I know that a bunch of Marines weren't over there. But this is where they were. That's what their job was, and they were protecting the west coast of the United States. They were doing their job, even though in the sun and the fun and the volleyballs and the girls on the surfboards, it was great duty, wasn't it? But somebody had to do it. But no, we take today and we remember. We never forget, because the pain, the hurt, the agony never goes away. And every veteran will tell you just the same thing I'm telling you. The veteran's not the hero. The hero is the ones that didn't come back. Those are the ones that gave their life doing their job. And those are the ones we honor. We honor those that passed away, and we even have one from Waterbury that isn't really recognized for December 7th, but he died as a result of the wounds that he received on December 7th. And we will also remember him today. Right now, I want to say thank you very much. I'm running off with the mouth. I know I'm not supposed to be talking this long. But you got me on my feet, and I'm afraid to sit down because I'm liable not to get back up again. But, what? You all set? But this, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming, and please enjoy the day with us. Thank you. Okay, start stuff.
No, fine. I'll help you get that way.
No, you go. You want me to stand on my back?
No.
No.
Go ahead.
Tough Marine. Where's my program? At this point in time, we'll have our usual call to the flag. That'll be done by John Famiglietti, who's at the rear of this room. John, if you will, please. Remain at standing, please. We'll have invocation by our chaplain, Reverend Thomas Mallory. Reverend Mallory.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I greet you in the precious name of God Almighty. And this is a spectacular day. It's 75th anniversary, and veterans and Gold Star mothers and family. We want to thank the good Lord for having watched over us all of these years and is continuously watching over us. And so I want you to just focus on this word. Thy Heavenly Father, thy love is as infinite as the sky is infinite. And thy ways of manifesting that love are as unaccountable as the stars in the heavens. Thy power is greater than man's horizon. And thy ways of expressing that power are more numerous than the sands of the sea. As thou keepest the stars in their courses, so shall thou direct our steps in perfect harmony, without clash or discord of any kind. If we trust in thee, we know that if we acknowledge thee in all thy ways, thou wilt direct our path, for thou art the God of love, the giver of every good and perfect gift, and there is none beside thee. Thou art omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, in all, through all, and over all, the only God. And we thank God for being our God and continuously watching over our country and our allies. And we ask these things in the Master's name, of he who does all things well. Amen.
Amen. Remain standing. If one of our veterans here in the back of the room, step out and pick up an American flag and bring it in here so we can post the colors. Will somebody please help us with that matter? Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Mallory. Mary, you and Joe, pick up a flag right there on the table. Just hold it up. Gil Graveline, National Anthem. That's all right. You're the two Gold Star mothers and fathers that are here. Just stay right where you are. Right where you are. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Now, as I'm prone to do, I will present something that's not on your program. The speech's infamy line is often misquoted as a day that will live in infamy. However, President Roosevelt quite deliberately chose to emphasize the date, December 7, 1941, rather than the day of the attack, a Sunday, which he mentioned only in the last line when he said, Sunday, December 7th, 1941. He sought to emphasize the historic nature of the events at Pearl Harbor, implicitly urging the American people never to forget the attack and memorialize its date. Notwithstanding the term, in quotes, Day of Infamy, has become widely used by the media to refer to any moment of supreme disgrace of evil. I brought that up because it's always should be mentioned, particularly by veterans, a date of infamy, not a day. Now, I'm going to get something else that I got off the internet. The opening of his speech to the Congress on December 8th, to the Congress of the United States. Yesterday, December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. That's the opening line of his speech on December 8, 1941. Now, jump down toward the end of it. No matter how long it may take us, these are Roosevelt's words, to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory. I believe I interpret the will of the Congress and of the people when I assert that we will not only defend ourselves to the uttermost, but will make very certain that this form of treachery shall never endanger us again. Hostilities exist. There is no blinking at the fact that our people, our territory, and our interests are in grave danger. With confidence in our armed forces, with the unbounding determination of our people, we will gain the inevitable triumph. So help us God. I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire. That's the end of his speech. The end of my speech is not yet concluded. So help us God is not included on that part of that speech that President Roosevelt made on December 8, 1941, on the World War II monument. I wonder why it was left out. So help us God. I hope we'll never have to worry about finding out. Having said that, now you know what Pearl Harbor is all about. Normally at this point we place wreaths. Since there's no room here for the wreaths, we would recognize at this time, no applause please, Gold Star Mother Mary Kite, Gold Star Father Joseph Nolan. We thank them for their service. and your sacrifice. There are members of their families here. Bob Dorr will mention some of the other Gold Star family that's here under his presentation. We normally have a military Order of the Purple Heart, a Mayor's Wreath, and a Pearl Harbor Survivors Wreath. When I spoke to Frank Montaro, the Chief Operating Officer of this company, I had suggested to him that all this program we're doing right here inside will be done inside. Apparently I was countermanding someone other than my commander. Sam will attest to that. It gets cold out there. I can talk in the cold. Okay? I didn't put on my long moudans today. I'm not ready to be out there that long. Underwear, that is. We go to those of you that have a program. Connecticut remembers its heroes, Robert Dorr. Bob?
Right there, Johnny.
We're working with electronic aspects of our event here.
Test 1, 2. Okay, we got it. Thank you, John. As everybody may know, Connecticut lost 18 men in the dastardly attack on December 7th at Pearl Harbor, territory of Hawaii. We have men from Darien, Norwich, Hamden, and so on, throughout the state of Connecticut. 10 of the men that we lost were on one ship, the USS Arizona. If you were to visit their graves, you would have to visit the USS Arizona Memorial, because all of those men are still entombed on that ship. The USS Arizona, of course, is the Arizona Memorial in Hawaii at Pearl Harbor, and those 18 men are Eric Allen, Lieutenant Junior Grade, USS Enterprise, he's from Darien. Henry Ludwig Carlson, Seaman 3rd Class, USS Arizona, from Norwich, Connecticut, body never recovered. Edward M. Gosselin, USS Arizona, Hamden, Connecticut, body never recovered. Vincent M. Horan, Corporal, U.S. Army Air Corps, Wheeler Field, Stamford, Connecticut. Paul Morris Johnson, Private, U.S. Army, Fort Shafter, from Waterbury, Connecticut. Henry John Lanouette, Coxswain, U.S. Navy, USS Arizona, from Wallingford, Connecticut, body never recovered. John Calervo, Lunetta, Seaman 1st Class, USS Nevada, from Collinsville, Connecticut. William T. O'Neill, Jr., Ensign, U.S. Naval Reserve, USS Arizona, from Glenbrook, Connecticut, body never recovered. Stanislaus J. Orzek, U.S. Navy, Seaman 2nd Class, USS Arizona, from Meriden, Connecticut, body never recovered. Richard J. Patterson, Seaman 3rd Class, USS Arizona, Berlin, Connecticut, body never recovered. George Pavesco, Seaman 1st Class, USS Arizona, Bridgeport, Connecticut, body never recovered. Michael George Quarto, Seaman 1st Class, USS Arizona, Norwich, Connecticut, body never recovered. Thomas J. Reeves, Warrant Officer, USS California, Thomaston, Connecticut, recipient of the Medal of Honor for his service at Pearl Harbor. William Eugene Seeley, Seaman 1st Class, USS Arizona, from New London, Connecticut, body never recovered. George Smith, Private, U.S. Army, Air Corps, Hickam Field, from New Haven, Connecticut. Gordon H. Sterling, Jr., 2nd Lieutenant, U.S. Army Air Corps, Wheeler Field, Hartford, Connecticut. Felix S. Wergensen, Private, U.S. Army Air Corps, Hickam Field, from Bridgeport, Connecticut. Almont Whitehead, Jr., Ensign, USS Arizona, from Hartford, Connecticut, body never recovered. So we have a total Connecticut casualties of 18 10 of them were from the USS Arizona BB-39, and all 10 of those bodies were never recovered. Thank you, John.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert.
What's that? What's next? Oh, yeah. I have that here. I'll call for him. I'll call for him. Is Mayor O'Leary here? Could Mayor O'Leary come forward? Thank you, Mayor. You make the presentation, I'll do the flag.
There.
Mayor Neil O'Leary, thank you for what you've done for the Waterbury Veterans Memorial Committee. We're absolutely delighted to have been working with you for your term this year and previous years, and we're absolutely pleased. So let me read what we have. This is a special presentation. This is the USS Arizona flag raising certificate from the Arizona Memorial Visitor Center to Colonel John G. Sciarella, Waterbury Veterans Memorial Committee, 235 Grand Street, Waterbury, Connecticut. This document certifies that this flag was flown over the USS Arizona Memorial, Naval Station Pearl Harbor on April 22, 2002 at 1325 from the flagpole affixed to the USS Arizona, the sunken battleship enshrined at Pearl Harbor as a national monument, upon the request of the office of U.S. Congressman James Maloney. Mayor O'Leary, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please accept this flag in remembrance of the 18 men from Connecticut who gave their lives at Pearl Harbor, 10 of them from the USS Arizona.
Thank you. Well, it's quite an honor and quite a surprise. Thank you. I'll keep my remarks brief, but I do first want to recognize the Waterbury Veterans Memorial Committee for the incredible job that you do, reminding all of us of the contributions of Waterbury and the greater Waterbury through every conflict. Certainly, we are eternally grateful for that and will always be, and that's why we have been called, and we are proud of it, the most patriotic city in the country. We have people from Senator Murphy's here, office here, Kenny is here, we have Senator Blumenthal's office here, we certainly, Congresswoman Estes' office is here, we have Jim Smith from Webster Bank here, and we have all you wonderful people. I'd be remiss if I didn't take just a moment to thank McDermott Platform Corporation. Thank you. I think all of us know what the Lever family and McDermott has meant to this city for decades. And we're fortunate to have the COO here, Frank Montero, and his dad is here as well. And I can tell you that since Frank has come back from Denver, the stakeholdership and the ownership of McDermott Platform integrating into this city each and every day has made such a dramatic, positive impact on this city. And I'm very, very proud to call Frank a close personal friend and very proud to be standing here to thank McDermott for all they've done for us once again today. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor O'Leary.
Thank you, Mayor.
Introduce.
Okay. Now, if you look at your program, we have one casualty from Waterbury that we're finally recognizing today, Private Paul M. Johnson. Private Paul M. Johnson was a 19-year-old anti-aircraft gunner, born on Greenwood Avenue, Waterbury, up by Fulton Park. He always wanted to be a soldier like his uncle, Private David Fanuc. Private David Fanuc was the first Jewish soldier to give his life for his country in World War I. The David Fanek Post, number 91, Jewish War Veterans, was named after David Fanek. David Fanek's mother, Hilda Fanek, was the first president of the Gold Star Mothers Association here in Waterbury when it was established in 1927. So without further ado, I would like to thank everybody for attending here today so that we can never forget the sacrifice of Private Paul M. Johnson, 64th Coast Artillery, Battery E. When our nation was brutally attacked by the Empire of Japan, Paul Johnson did what he was trained to do. He went to his guns, defended our nation, giving up his own life for our freedom. We have Francis Johnson Reimer, with us today. Francis, could you stand up? Francis is Paul's cousin, and she remembers Paul. Could you say a couple words about Paul? Could you?
Paul was
Let's bring this over.
a very good cousin.
Here, let me bring this over. Here you go.
I remember him very well. He had 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and they were a very united family. And we were just surprised when he went into the service, and certainly much more surprised the day that he was hurt, and then the next day he died from his wounds. But he was a great kid. I mean, I say a kid, I was only 9 at the time, but I do remember, because I saw him all the time, when we went to Waterbury. I lived in New Haven, and my father would take us there, because he was the brother to Paul's father. And all I could say is the family's always been very proud of what he did, and will never forget. And I just hope that the young people of today would think about the past and what people have done to sacrifice so that we could be standing here today and go on with our lives as Americans. And God bless this country.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is a family that gave 2 sons for our nation. David Fanek, Private David Fanek, and Private Paul M. Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob Dwyer. Is that mine?
Yep. Yep. Alphonse Pelosi. Get the medals.
Wait a minute.
Alphonse Pelosi. Sure.
I gotta do one thing first. Let me move this from this side.
Wait a minute, wait, Bob, wait. I'm just asking you, are we all done with Paul?
Johnson, finish that.
What you heard about Paul Johnson, if you look on your schedule, it says at 1:30 p.m., but it won't happen then. There'll be an unveiling of a plaque in honor and in memory of Private Paul M. Johnson out on the bridge, okay? Unfortunately, there's probably 100 people already out there that you may have to wave through to see it. At this time, we want to call on the Chief Operating Officer of McDonald Performance Solutions, Frank J. Montero. I always refer to myself as a legend in my own mind, but he is a legend, and he will become a legend in Waterbury, for the presentations to a North Ender, former Marine, passed away, Alphonse Fu Pelosi, as I knew him at the North NY. Going to present this to the family of Alphonse Pelosi, who was a survivor, a Marine survivor of Iwo Jima in 1945, one of the most horrific battles of the Second World War. So without any further delay, please welcome Frank Montero. Frank?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to thank my colleagues here at McDermott, Mike Orlowski, who runs our North American operations, actually our Americas now, in the back there, for allowing us to host the event here today. It's very important for us because we wanted to pay our respect to not only the veterans of Pearl Harbor and World War II, but of all the wars and all the battles that have been fought. So thank you very much for all of your service.
Thank you.
We have a special presentation. Sophia Dodona, come up here for a second. So Sophia and her family, in lieu of birthday gifts, her and her brother and sister, they collected money for the United Way. And they donated that money at a ceremony we had earlier today. What Sophia did is she made some cupcakes for the Veterans Committee. So we would like to present this to you guys to dine on at your leisure here today. So we give you that.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophia.
So I want to thank my father, Anthony Montero, and my father-in-law, John Kennison, who are both Vietnam veterans. Thank you very much for everything you guys have done. So Mr. Pelosi, Mr. Gary Pelosi. So I had the privilege of knowing Al Pelosi for about 25 years. And there's many times on a Sunday morning where he would, as I call, dazzle me with stories because I was a history buff. And he would speak of a lot of things, but one thing he spoke from the heart on was his time during World War II. And for those of you who didn't know, he made a deal. And in order to return home, he promised to live what I refer to as the perfect life. A gentleman who never swore, who never cursed, who never had a bad word to say about anyone in his life, ever. And unfortunately, I was away when he passed away. And I was upset that I couldn't get back here. So speaking with Mr. Dorr, I said, I have one favor today. Can we do something for the Pelosi family? I said, I'd like to give a flag. He said, we're going to do it better. How about all of Foo's awards? And we can present it to his family. So, my friend, thank you very much for your dad's service and everything else.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank Bob Dorr, John Sarlo, and the Waterbury Veterans Memorial Committee. Just thank you for remembering people. It's very important, especially Sam Beeman, who's always been a good friend of mine. And also I want to thank Frank Montero and the people at McDermott for this really, really nice ceremony. You do a lot of good things in the community, and people recognize it all the time, and just want to say thank you on behalf of the family.
We just wanted to get these three people here just in case. Bob, please. I set up a pose.
He wants a picture.
Oh, he wants a picture, oh. Thank you.
You know what they used to say in the old country?
No,
Mannaggia che fatte.
We don't know what that is. We don't know what that is.
No. How many times have you gone to an event where they make presentations? And I've done that many times, a couple of times. And we just ask the people to pause. Not pose. Pause for a pose so their family or friends could take a picture of them. And the first thing they do is they start doing this. That's my way of being an MC. I'm sorry if it's not according to Hoyle, but I was a Toastmaster for 20 years, and I learned how to make presentations, believe me when I tell you, personal presentations. And at this time, I would like to ask Mr. James Smith from Webster Bank to come up here and say a few words. Please welcome James Smith from Webster Bank.
It's such an honor for me and so unexpected to be invited to say a couple of words. I'm humbled to be in your presence, frankly. And I think about the enormity of what our soldiers and veterans have achieved and the legacy that they've made for so many of us. I look around the room and I know so many of you in so many different walks of life, but none more important than what we do today, which is to honor those that have made the ultimate sacrifice and given so much for their country, for their families, and I'm deeply humbled to be here. I love Al Pelosi. You know, I learned so much from him back in the days of the Boys Club and other organizations that we all were involved in, and it just feels so great to feel the community pull together, and I'm just thinking about that beautiful bridge out there as well. I hope the people aren't still out there, actually, right? I know there were a lot of people that were going out there about a half an hour ago, and you know, I don't want to go on, but I did want to say that had it not been for World War II, I wouldn't be here today at all. I think like many of us, my parents actually met in Norfolk, Virginia. My dad from Connecticut, my mother from West Virginia, fell in love and got married, and then came back to Connecticut, and my dad worked at the bank, and you know, here we are a generation later, always remembering, you know, why we're here and being appreciative of that. Not a December 7th ever goes by that we don't think about the vets inside Webster and do something to be able to remember this special moment. And actually, we have for our vets at Webster, and I thought you'd be interested in knowing this, you know, I have my Webster pin, but our vets, and there are so many of them, have a special pin, and it has the American flag on one side, and it has the Webster logo on the other. And they are proud to wear it, and I am so proud that they wear it as well. And I'm proud of my brothers who served, my brother Hal in the Marines and my brother Rob in the Army. So I'm really humbled and delighted to be able to be with you today. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the time. Thank you, James. At this time, the mayor had mentioned that representative from Senator Murphy's office and Elizabeth Estes' office, if they would come up together, if you've got to say a couple of words. Just keep it shorter than my height.
Sure. Briefly, I'll just share that one of the first calls Chris got after he became senator was from a guy in Guilford called Tom Gray. His cousin perished on December 7th. He was a group of 22 firefighters aboard the Oklahoma trying to put out the fire as everybody else was trying to get off the boat. For about 70 years or so, the remains were unidentified. However, in 2008, they were identified. Apparently, they were commingled together, buried in an unmarked grave, and then moved to the Punch Bowl, I think, in '49 or so. So Tom Gray was trying to get his cousin's remains back to be properly buried with his aunt and uncle, the gentleman's, the soldier's parents. And the Department of Defense gave him a very hard time, was not allowing him to do it. So we reached out to him, and they made it hard for us too. So we had to get permission from the other 22 members, and we did. It took a while, but in 2015, the Department of Defense said they would release the remains, and this past year, actually, this past month, he was buried in New Hampshire with full military honors with his parents. So we can never stop, even though it's been 75 years, we can never stop working for those who paid the ultimate sacrifice at Pearl Harbor. And my dad, who's a naval aviator, flew the F-4 Phantoms, always taught me to thank a veteran when you see him or her, to honor those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, and to never forget those who never came back. And no place does it like Waterbury or the Veterans Committee. And thank you to McDermott for doing as well. Now, my father also said, the naval pilot, he said that it's game week. And even though he said I might get in trouble, he did tell me to say, go Navy, beat Army.
Oh, thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Thank you, Kenny. My name is Mac DeMac. I have the privilege and honor of standing before you today on behalf of Congresswoman Elizabeth Estes. And she had a couple of brief remarks that she wanted me to pass along, and so I will do that now. Today we honor and remember the fateful day when our nation was rocked by the destruction and hostility of a deliberate attack on our shore 75 years ago. On this date, more than 2,000 American soldiers and sailors were killed, and more than 1,000 more were injured. The bloodshed was unfathomable, the affront unacceptable, And as President Franklin D. Roosevelt said, the attack on Pearl Harbor will be remembered as a date which will live in infamy. Today we honor those who lost their lives and pray for their families. And we recommit to upholding the sacred commitment we as a nation have to serving the brave men and women who put their lives on the line to defend our freedom. It is my honor and my solemn responsibility to ensure that our nation holds true to this commitment, that we protect men and women while in the service and when they return home. So to everyone here who served, thank you for your service and welcome home. Thank you so much.
Please tell us the date and infamy.
I will.
Reminder. Jeff Berger, Larry Butler, two representatives, 73 and 74, 72 and 74. Comments? 72, 73, whatever. Do you know who you are, sir?
We fight hard for that 73rd, as everyone knows. But just on behalf of the state of Connecticut, I'll be brief that we want to thank everyone for being here. The committee's work, as always, is a tremendous job. McDermott Solutions Corporation, a great corporate partner with the city of Waterbury. So thank you, everyone, for being here for this day, and I yield the remainder of my time to Captain Scapini.
Jeff, it should be Larry. Jeff's son served in the Marines.
Yeah, we straighten them out.
Okay. I want to make sure that everybody knows that.
He's retired from the Marine.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'd like to.
Once a Marine, always a Marine, right, Sam?
Hoorah!
Hurrah! Larry, you're on.
Yes, I'd like to thank the Waterbury Veterans Committee because you do the best job of any committee I ever seen around the state of Connecticut. So I want to thank you and McDermott. Also, I'd thank everybody here that took the time to actually remember. My son actually served in the Army and actually served over in Afghanistan. And I can tell you that hearing some of the things that happened, we really got to support all of our veterans. Also, just briefly, I want to tell you a little story about being a little boy, climbing up on my father's chest of drawer, opened up a little cigar box, looking around for things. Actually saw bands of medals and ribbons with stars on them. Never knew what they were until I actually grew up. My father never talked about the war, but later on I seen his document about his service, and he actually earned 2 Bronze Stars in World War II that I never knew about until, so you never know, some of those stories and what the veterans actually went through, because a lot of them never talked about it, but it's good that we always take the time to remember. So, thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Next, we want to introduce the son of our late chairman of the Veterans Memorial Committee, passed away a year and a half ago or so, almost 2 years ago now. John Chirella, please welcome, Colonel John Chirella, please welcome his son, John Chirella Jr. John.
Thank you, John. John Chirella is here, and I just have an artifact. Everybody in this room may not know, but in 1998, Colonel John G. Chirella was part of the team that raised the money to purchase the 2 bronze plaques that are now on that bridge. What I have in my hand, and if John, you can help me open this. When John Chirella, Colonel John, had that bridge dedicated, renamed as the Pearl Harbor Memorial Bridge, the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association, turn it around, John. This one, yeah. The Pearl Harbor Survivors Association, the survivors were on the bridge, and they all signed through the years, all of them from the local area signed this Pearl Harbor Survivors Association flag. This was Colonel John G. Chirella that had this artifact created, and that created the tradition that we are now experiencing today, which is honoring our soldiers who made the ultimate sacrifice at Pearl Harbor. So let's welcome John Chirella Jr. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's truly a pleasure being here and being invited, and I'm sure my father will be very proud. So, thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, yeah. By the way, there is not one person who signed this flag that is still with us. each
These are all the Pearl
have,
Harbor survivors.
these were all the Pearl Harbor survivors who have now passed on. Thank you, Johnny. Right, so you're in charge.
On the list here, we have First Selectman Edmund Moan, Joseph Wassong Jr. Are they here from Thomaston? If you would come forward, please. Does he need help? Get his hand. He's got him. Come on, go.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here today to pay tribute to one of the Pearl Harbor veterans who was deceased and died there at Pearl Harbor, that being Thomas Reeves from Thomaston. Thomas Reeves, as you heard earlier, was one of the, in fact, the only to be awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for his service on that day. And I have the privilege of reading that citation and will do so right now. It was on stationery indicating White House, Washington. President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Congressional Medal of Honor posthumously to Thomas J. Reeves, Chief Radio Man, U.S. Navy, for service during an attack on a United States fleet in Pearl Harbor as set forth in the following. Citation. For distinguished conduct in the line of his profession, extraordinary courage, in disregard of his own personal safety during the attack on the fleet in Pearl Harbor territory of Hawaii by Japanese forces on December 7, 1941. After the mechanized ammunition hoists were put out of commission in the USS California, Reeves, on his own initiative, in a burning passageway, assisted in the maintenance of the ammunition supply by hand to the anti-aircraft guns until he was overcome by smoke and fire, which resulted in his death. Citation is signed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. My great honor to present this to you today.
Charles, want to say something? Charles Wasson.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here today also because of Thomas Reeves and his service. Excuse me. But I would like to introduce for a moment Henry Ozowicki Jr. of Thomaston, who drove me down and who is a Vietnam vet who earned a Bronze Star and 4 Purple Hearts. Henry? Thomas Reeves was born on December 9th, 1895 in Thomaston. He was a career naval man. He entered the service in July of 1917, and he happened to be just about 1 year younger, or rather older than my father. My father knew him, always spoke of Thomas Reeves with respect, and of course from the age of recognition I learned of his service on Pearl Harbor. He never married, and he had a large family, several brothers, of whom 2 lived next door to me, Leo and Frederick. It was Frederick who kept the Medal of Honor that was awarded to Thomas Reeves. We had adjoining yards when I was a child and an adolescent, and Donna Reeves was one of my playmates. It was Donna Reeves who became the keeper of the medals, and some years later, she presented the medals, including the Medal of Honor, to the town of Thomaston, which constructed a beautiful memorial wall to him. If you have not ever seen the Town Hall Memorial Wall, you should. It is very, very impressive. It is in our town hall, and it is available for viewing whenever the town hall is open. Thomas Reeves was on the battleship California, which had been launched long before in 1919. It was badly damaged during the attack on December 7th, but reconstructed in 1944 and participated in the campaign in the Pacific against the Japanese. Decommissioned in 1959 and sold for scrap that year, the USS California, one of its bells is on display outdoors at the California State Capitol Museum in Sacramento. The outdoor museum in Sacramento has one of the most impressive displays of Vietnam veterans. It is one of the really, truly great museums and in the country. Thomas James Reeves, Thomaston's hometown hero, is buried in the Punch Bowl, formerly known as the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific in Honolulu. I brought the Medal of Honor with me this morning, and it is sitting next to Henry. After the ceremony here, I will stay as long as it takes for any of you to see the medal close up. If you would like to pause a moment on your way out, it is there with us. A destroyer escort, the USS Reeves, was later named in his honor, Thomas James Reeves. Thank you.
Charles, thank you. Thank you so much. Very nice. At this time, we're at the tail end of our presentation here. I don't think there's anybody else I have to recognize other than our keynote speaker. Having said that, please welcome Captain Richard Scapini, attorney for the city of Waterbury, 23 years active and reserve duty in the United States Navy. JAG officer.
Reverend clergy, veterans, Gold Star parents, ladies and gentlemen. December 7th, 1941. It started out as a typical Sunday morning at Pearl Harbor, the U.S. Navy's Pacific Fleet headquarters on the Hawaiian island of Oahu. Shortly before 8 a.m., the silence and the serenity of that Sunday morning was shattered by an unprovoked attack by the Japanese Imperial Navy. Japan launched roughly 200 planes from 6 aircraft carriers. Their deadly effective bombing and torpedo runs on the anchored ships, airfields, and numerous military and civilian facilities will forever be remembered by Americans as the date that will live in infamy. The attack absolutely shocked the American public, as the focus of our national defense at the time was centered on Europe and Hitler's two-front conquest of much of the European continent. The day after Pearl Harbor, President Franklin D. Roosevelt asked Congress to declare war on the Empire of Japan. The Congress answered loud and clear by a resounding declaration of war that passed 82-0 in the Senate and 388-1 in the House. Today, as we commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Pearl Harbor attack, we must call to mind that more than 2,400 United States military personnel were killed, and our Pacific Fleet suffered severe damage or destruction of 18 ships, including the battleships Arizona, Oklahoma, California, Nevada, and West Virginia. Let us all now bow our heads in reverent homage to those who paid the ultimate sacrifice on December 7th, 1941, in the defense of our country. Thank you. Despite Japan's sneak attack and apparent success at Pearl Harbor, Japan failed to eliminate the U.S. Pacific Fleet. And in the words of Japanese Admiral Yamamoto, they had only awakened a giant and filled our country with a resolve to fight back. And fight back we did, when only a few short months later, the U.S. Navy won a decisive victory over the same Japanese Navy at the Battle of Midway. Now, 75 years after the Pearl Harbor attack, the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association carries on the memory of that infamous day, and they honor the bravery and sacrifice of their shipmates who are not with us today. The Pearl Harbor Survivors Association motto reads, "Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty." Eternal, because of their shipmates' everlasting, perpetual, and endless devotion to duty. Vigilant, because they know that their shipmates are keeping the watch still. Their alertful watch against enemies who represent a clear and present threat to us all will continue to protect and defend this great country. Price, because the survivors know and appreciate the cost and the immeasurable value of their shipmates' courage under fire. But they also know that there really is no price or value that would be high enough to properly represent the debt of gratitude that we owe to the brave men and women who lost their lives at Pearl Harbor. Liberty, freedom, individual rights, the privilege of being an American. These are the gifts that their shipmates fought and died for. Cherish them. Do not take them for granted. Now it's our turn to step up, close ranks, and continue to protect what is right about America. Thank you, Pearl Harbor heroes. May you always have fair winds and following seas. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you. Well said. Thank you. Appreciate it. Is Reverend Ford here? At this time, I'll call on the Very Reverend Christopher Ford for a benediction. Father Ford, of course, is from the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception. Thank you for your patience.
Let us pray. Almighty God, Creator and Redeemer, we thank you for the opportunity to gather this afternoon as a community. The Pearl Harbor Bridge, where we will lower the memorial boat, is a special place, a place of remembrance, and a place that gives us hope for the future. It serves us as a metaphor, as a bridge to the future, a future that is hopefully hopeful and peaceful. We guard in our hearts, O Lord, the memories of what happened at Pearl Harbor 75 years ago. So many miles away from us, but very close to our hearts. Save the 2,403 who lost their lives. Bless the families who were forced to live without fathers and mothers, husbands and wives, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, all these many years. Bless those who stood their ground and fought for peace. And bless those, O Lord, who are presently risking their lives on our behalf. You made us free. Give us the grace to exercise that freedom by always choosing love over hate, peace over violence, humility over arrogance, justice over prejudice, and good over evil. Now fill us and all those who have been entrusted temporal power with your guiding spirit. Guide our hearts, minds, our hands, our feet, our voices as we journey forward. In all that we do, may your light shine. This we pray together in a spirit of faith, hope, and love, and of course, a spirit of true and lasting peace. Amen.
Thank you, Father Ford. All rise. Echo. That concludes our program for today inside here. Thank you. You've been a very courteous audience. I appreciate your listening to everyone. We will now proceed outside for the symbolic presentation of a boat into the river, the Naugatuck River, as well as a wreath. So if you'll please proceed toward the bridge. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience.
You weren't going to be here. What happened? They're out here. They're over there. They're not gonna... Okay.
Hold on to this for a second.
I will hold on to this.
Very good, thank you. Let me get a picture. Fantastic. Up, 2, 3. Perfect, awesome.
Oh, don't let go of it yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, the whale came off. I
I'm
put
a
it back
boat.
on.
No, it's a shark on this side.
I'm just going to pull the flags. I'm not going to take the
Whatever you want. No. Whatever you gotta get ready, get ready. Don't mind go up the street. No. Oh, yes. Be back down.
I'm just telling you. Well, we're going to go and break coffee anyway.
Yeah, I know.
So everything went well.
Looks good. What are you waiting for now, Sam? No, we're waiting for John. Where is Debbie? The poor class. We gotta bring it down here and bring this stuff home. Lenny got his name. I saw him. Well, I am.
That happened at the goat things when you meet somebody, they say, family. Yes, yes. They're not heavy either. They're thinner.
Come on, John. Where the hell are you? This is a certificate of appreciation. The certificate to Frank J. Montero in recognition of his support to our city, state, and nation as a sponsor of Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. They gave their all, now we remember them. We, the members of the Waterbury Veterans Memorial Committee, express our sincere appreciation for his support.
Thank you. December 7th.
One word?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay, this should be made out to McDermott, to the people of McDermott, because I know without them the company's nothing. And you know, we have a saying here that our greatest assets go home every night. Well, a lot of our greatest assets are here today. So I thank all of our employees. I'm accepting this on behalf of the company and our employees. You know, thank you for everything you do, but more importantly to our veterans, thank you for everything that you have sacrificed for us and for the freedoms we enjoy. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would feel better if Don, honest to God.
Joe, you
Don,
want to
come here.
do the bouquet with me?
He's our resident Boy Scout. He's going to do it for him.
It's okay, I'm sorry. Mine
I just
are
don't
from
want to drop
Timo.
it. No, I don't want to drop it.
Mine are from Timo, so don't worry about it. I know you're coming from.
Okay, go ahead.
Taking up speed. Look at him taking up speed. Oh, it did go down. Hooray!
This is a plaque that we've put here, and it'll be permanent. It'll withstand weather or whatever. Paul Johnson was injured on December 7, 1941, but he's not listed as a casualty because he died the next day from the wounds that he incurred in doing his job or whatever. And again, it makes a reference to the fact that he was born 1922, so he was 19 years old in essence when he died. He joined the Army because he wanted to emulate his grandfather, I guess it was, that died in World War I. He was one of the first Jewish casualties. So again, we remember him as one of the Pearl Harbor casualty, notwithstanding the fact it's dated December 8th. And to make a point about December 8th, as I did on the when you were doing a show inside, it's a date of infamy, not a day of infamy. And you can see that people continue to make that error, but my job is to try to make sure they understand it's a date of infamy, which is December 7, 1941. That's a date of infamy.